If today feels like a gentle push forward, like you're starting to move again, but without pressure, without urgency, this isn't random. Something has already begun. The shift from yesterday is now starting to take form. Not fully, not completely clear, but present. You may notice a quiet inclination to act, to engage, to move towards something, to begin, even in a small way, and it feels different from before, less intense, less reactive, less driven by pressure, and more intentional, more measured, more aware of how you move, not just where you move. This is the first step in your new direction. Not a big leap, not a major shift, but a small movement that begins to define what comes next. You may find yourself doing simple things today, making small decisions, taking minor actions, exploring something lightly. And those actions may not feel significant in the moment, but they are, because they set the tone. They begin to shape how this new phase develops. You may also notice that you're more aware while acting, checking in, adjusting slightly, not rushing ahead. And that awareness is what makes today different, because you're not just moving, you're observing your movement, seeing what feels aligned, what holds, what needs adjustment, in real time. So if today feels quiet but active, like something is beginning without needing to be forced, it's because you've entered the phase of first movement, where direction is no longer an idea, it becomes action.
What you're experiencing today is not just small movement, it's directional testing. When a new cycle begins, it doesn't fully activate immediately. It starts gradually, through small actions, minor decisions, subtle shifts in how you engage. And those small moments are not random, they're feedback. You're not just moving forward, you're learning how this new direction responds. What feels natural, what feels slightly off, what holds, and what doesn't. That's what makes today important, because these early actions shape how the direction develops. You may notice that your movement feels cautious, not hesitant, but aware. You're not rushing into things, you're testing them, seeing how they feel in practice, not just in thought. And that's the shift, from idea to experience. Because something can feel aligned in your mind, but until you act on it, you don't fully know. And today, you begin to know. Not all at once, but through interaction, through engagement, through seeing how things actually respond. You may also notice that your awareness is more active while moving. You're paying attention, adjusting slightly, refining as you go, not forcing direction, but shaping it in real time. And that's what creates alignment, not perfect clarity at the start, but continuous adjustment based on what you experience. This is how direction becomes stable, not through planning everything, but through moving and refining. So what you're feeling today is not uncertainty, it's responsiveness. Your system engaging with something new and learning from it, moment by moment. So even if things feel small or not fully defined, they matter, because they are building the foundation of what comes next.
This is where today becomes subtle. Because when something new begins, there can be a quiet urge to speed it up, to make it clearer, to define it fully, to turn these small movements into something more solid immediately. And that's where ill-alignment begins. The first trap is forcing direction, trying to decide everything too quickly, locking into a path before it has fully formed. Because uncertainty can feel uncomfortable, even when it's natural. So instead of allowing direction to develop, you try to finalize it. But when you do that, you skip the process that creates alignment. The second trap is overanalyzing small actions, looking at every step as if it needs to be perfect, questioning every decision, trying to interpret everything deeply. And that creates hesitation. Because now movement feels like something that needs to be correct, instead of something that needs to be explored. There's also a subtler pattern today. Doubt returning quietly. Not the same kind as before, but more subtle. A second guessing of small steps, wondering if you're moving in the right direction before enough has happened to even know what is. And that doubt can slow your movement, not because something is wrong, but because you're expecting clarity too early. So the real calibration today is patience with direction, not passivity, but allowing. You don't need to define everything now. You don't need to lock into a final path. You just need to keep moving in a way that stays aware. Let your actions show you what works. Let your experience guide you toward clarity. Because direction is not something you decide once. It's something you refine as you move. And what makes today powerful is not certainty. It's correct movement within uncertainty.
So how do you move forward today without forcing direction and without holding yourself back? You keep your movement light. Not careless, but flexible. Because today is not about committing fully. It's about exploring correctly. Start by reducing pressure on your actions. You don't need every step to be perfect. You don't need every decision to be final. You just need to engage. Take a step. Observe. Adjust. That's enough. Because this phase is about interaction, not conclusion. You can also focus on small, contained actions. Things that allow you to move, but without locking you into a long-term direction. Test ideas, explore options, engage lightly. Because when movement stays flexible, adjustment becomes easy. You may also notice that your awareness is already guiding you. Subtle signals. What feels natural? What feels slightly off? What holds your attention and what doesn't? Trust that. Not as final truth, but as information. Because that's what shapes direction. Not assumptions, but experience. You can also give yourself space between actions. Not long pauses, but enough time to register what just happened. So each step informs the next, instead of moving automatically. Because automatic movement skips alignment, and conscious movement builds it. So today, stay engaged, but stay flexible. Let your direction develop through what you do, not through what you decide in advance. Because what you're building now is not a fixed path, it's a responsive one. And that's what makes it strong.
Let everything settle here. Not to stop your movement, but to understand it. Because today was not about certainty. It was about beginning, quietly, without pressure, without needing everything to be clear. So take a breath, steady,
controlled, unforced. And notice what remains when you're not trying to define where this is going yet. There's a subtle clarity here, not fully formed, but present. And that presence is enough. Because direction doesn't need to be complete to begin. It just needs to be aligned in the moment. So not everything you did today needs to be evaluated. Not every step needs to be analyzed. Some of it was simply movement. And movement is what creates clarity over time. Because through movement, you see what holds, what feels right, what needs adjustment. And that understanding builds gradually, without needing to be forced. So as you move forward from here, stay with that. Small steps, clear awareness, flexible direction. Let things develop. Let them show you what they are becoming, without rushing to define it. Because what you're building now is not just a path, it's a way of moving. One that adapts, one that refines, one that stays aligned as it grows. And that's what makes it stable. Not because it was decided perfectly, but because it was shaped correctly. So carry that with you. This ability to begin without needing everything to be certain. And if this helped you feel more grounded, even slightly, return to it as this new phase continues to unfold. And if you want to keep moving through these shifts with more awareness, more control, you can come back here. Each day, not to find the perfect path, but to build one step by step.